frauds. And a lot of, probably most of the people in this room have been very mindful about making sure that their kids got very good preschool educations and got that kind of head start. That head start compounds fantastically. If you can get that, starting at age 2, 3, 4, there's a powerful compounding effect there. So it's highly levered. That's all that really means. The money spent there is going to pay gigantic dividends for decades.
So, and the other part of your gift will be to give awards out to...
Yes, and that's going to be more traditional grant-making philanthropy. So there, I'm going to identify, with the help of a team, I'm going to identify that we're going to hire, be a full-time team, identify and fund, vet and fund family homeless shelters.
And that will be, you said you would give an initial $2 billion.
Yeah.
You expect to add to that?
Yeah, it's day one. Everything I've ever done has started small. Amazon started with a couple of people, and Blue Origin started with 5 people, and the budget at Blue Origin was very, very small. Now the budget at Blue Origin approaches $1 billion a year. And next year it'll be more than $1 billion. So in Amazon, it literally was 10 people. Today it's 500,000 people, but it's hard to remember for you guys, but for me it's like yesterday I was driving the packages to the post office myself and hoping one day we could afford a forklift. And so for me, I've seen small things get big, and it's part of this day one mentality. I like treating things as if they're small. Amazon, even though it is a large company, I wanted to have the heart and spirit of a small one. And so anyway, the day one foundation is going to be like that. We'll wander a little bit too. So we have some very specific ideas of what we want to do, but I believe in the power of wandering. All of my best decisions in business and in life have been made with heart, intuition, guts, not analysis. When you can make a decision with analysis, you should do so. But it turns out in life that your most important decisions are always made with instinct, intuition, taste, heart. And that's what we'll do with this day one foundation too. It's part of that day one mentality. As we go about, building out this network of nonprofit schools, we'll learn new things and we'll figure out how to make it better.
So one of the decisions that you are doing by...
And the customer is going to be the child. This is so important because that is the secret sauce of Amazon, where there are several principles at Amazon, but the number one thing that has made us successful by far is obsessive, compulsive focus on the customer as opposed to obsession over the competitor. And I talk so often to other CEOs and some other CEOs and also founders and entrepreneurs. And I can tell that even though they're talking about customers, they're really focusing on competitors. And it is a huge advantage to any company if you can stay focused on your customer instead of your competitor. So then you have to identify who is your customer. So at the Washington Post, for example, is the customer the people who buy advertisements from us? No, the customer is the reader. Full stop. The customer is the reader. And then, by the way, where do advertisers want to be? Advertisers want to be where there are readers. So it's really not that complicated. It comes around really well. And in the school, who are the customers? Is it the parents? Is it the teachers? No. It is the child. And that's what we're going to do. We're going to be obsessively, compulsively focused on the child. We're going to be scientific when we can be. And we're going to use heart and intuition when we need to.
When you use your intuition and make decisions, where is the intuition leading you now on your second headquarters?
All right. Can we just take a moment to acknowledge that may be the best segue in the history of interviewing?
All right.
Seriously, David,
so,
that is
all right.
That's
so
amazing.
The answer is
The answer is very simple. We will announce a decision before the end of this year. So we've made tremendous progress. The team is working their butts off on it, and we will get there. No, hey, be nice. Come on.
But, you already have something in one Washington, and what about another Washington area? You've got
Yeah, no, that's right. In Seattle, we call this the other Washington.
Okay.
This is.
So speaking of Washington, you bought a few years ago, as you mentioned, the Washington Post. Why did you buy the Washington Post? You had no background in that area. What convinced you to do that?
Okay, first of all, I was not looking for a newspaper. I had no intention of buying a newspaper. I had never thought about the idea. It had never occurred to me. It was never something, it wasn't like a childhood dream, nothing. And my friend, Don Graham, who at that time I had known 15 years, I know him 20 years now, he approached me through an intermediary and wanted to know if I would be interested in buying the Washington Post. And I sent back word that I would not because I didn't really know anything about newspapers. And Don, over a series of conversations, convinced me that that was unimportant because we had, inside the Washington Post, we have so much talent that understands newspapers. That wasn't what the problem was. What they needed was somebody who had an understanding of the internet. And so that was the first thing. That's kind of how it got started. And then I did some soul searching. And again, my decision-making process, something like this, would definitely be intuition and not analysis. The financial situation of the Washington Post at that time, this is 2013, was very upside down. And is a fixed cost business, and they had lost a lot of revenue over the previous 5 or 6 years. Not through any fault of the people working there or of the leadership team. All of the paper had been managed very, very well. The problem was a secular one. The internet was just eroding all of the traditional advantages that local newspapers had, all of them. I mean, it was just taking away every gift that a local newspaper had was kind of systematically removed by the internet. And so that's why you see this. It's a profound problem across local newspapers all around the country and, in fact, the world. And so I had to do some soul searching, and I said, is this something I want to get involved in? If I'm going to do it, I'm going to put some heart into it and some work into it. And I decided I would only do that if I really believed it was an important institution. And I said to myself, if this were a financially upside down, salty snack food company, the answer would be no. And but it was as soon as I started thinking about it that way, I was like, this is an important institution. It is the newspaper in the capital city of the most important country in the world. The Washington Post has an incredibly important role to play in this democracy. There's just no doubt in my mind about that. And so as soon as I had passed through that gate, I only had one more gate that I had to go through before telling Don yes, and that was I wanted to look myself, be really open with myself and look in a mirror and sort of think about the company and be sure that I was optimistic that it could work because if it were hopeless, that would also be not something I would get involved in. And I looked at that, and I was super optimistic. And it needed to be transitioned to a national and a global publication. There's one gift that the internet brings newspapers. It destroys almost everything, but it brings one gift, and that is free global distribution. In the old days of paper newspapers, you would have to build printing plants everywhere and your logistics operations to have a truly global newspaper or even a national newspaper, super expensive, heavy CapEx investments. That's why so few papers actually became national or global. Not really no global ones to speak of, depending on what you count. And so, but today with the internet, you get that gift of free distribution. So we had to take advantage of that gift, and that was the basic strategy. We had to switch from a business model where we made a lot of money per reader with a relatively small number of readers to a tiny bit of money per reader on a very large number of readers. And that's the transition that we did over last night. I'm pleased to report to you that the Post is profitable today. The newsroom is growing. It's been growing every year since I've been there. Marty Barron,